Appearances can be deceiving. You might picture criminals as menacing figures, tough guys with scars and weapons, maybe even sporting leather jackets. However, the most dangerous individuals can be the ones that are also the most unexpected. For example, a harmless old lady in a light pink sweater offering you a butterscotch candy, all the while hiding a knife. Yep, today's video is all about the kind of criminals who you least expect. Grandmas who committed insane crimes and surprised the whole world with their actions. The Grandma Bandit, Ethel Arata. Grandma Ethel was truly one of a kind. If you had visited her at the time she was alive and well, living like a legend in jail, you'd be mesmerized by her. She gained quite a bit of popularity in the 1950s when she was caught robbing a suburban bank in Los Angeles. All everyone could talk about was, well, what the hell was a 52-year-old grandma doing, robbing a bank? Some even thought, surely someone else must have been behind it. Sweet old Ethel couldn't possibly dream up something like this. Could she? Oh, but she could. And as it turned out, this wasn't even her first time. Ethel loved money, but the problem was she didn't have any. And so, just like that, she made a master plan to get some. She bought a toy gun, yep, a toy gun, and decided to rob the banks of Los Angeles. She was successful as well, at least in the beginning. She managed to rob about $4,000 from 3 different banks. Once the tellers handed over the money to her, she vanished like smoke. Was Grandma a runner? Who knows? One day, however, a certain teller at a suburban LA bank decided to call her bluff. Ethel flashed her toy gun like usual, but this teller wasn't buying it. Instead of giving Ethel the money, she decided to call the bank manager. And well, the manager then quickly neutralized Ethel. The man even took her gun away, as if it could do any harm. Soon, the police came in, arrested Ethel, and named her the Grandma Bandit. Ethel only had one thing to say to this:
I am not a grandma. I don't even have grandkids.
The kidnapper, Grandma Yu Huaying. Yu Huaying looks like a frail, harmless old lady who couldn't hurt a fly, but in reality, she has a dark history of breaking and destroying multiple families. Her evil actions came to light with one particular victim of hers named Yang Niuhua, more fondly known as Niu Niu. Yu kidnapped Niu Niu in 1995 from Guizhou province in China in hopes of selling the little girl to whatever buyer she could find. She wasn't your average kidnapper who suddenly shows up in a white van. She was the kind most of us would never see coming, which honestly makes her even worse. Before Yu kidnapped Niu Niu, she spent months gaining the trust of the little girl's family. 5-year-old Niu Niu lived with her parents and her 8-year-old sister. When Yu first approached them, she told the parents that she needed a few utensils since she and her family just moved into the building and have yet to unpack. Slowly, Yu even started sending her own daughter to Niu Niu's apartment to play with her and her sister. And so, in a rather short amount of time, Niu Niu's parents also started sending both their girls to Yu's apartment to play and hang out as well. And since the girls were becoming such good friends, Niu Niu and her older sister even started calling Yu Auntie. Niu Niu's father was strict as well as caring. He often told both his daughters to be wary of strangers, but little did he know that even harmless-looking neighbors can commit the worst of crimes. One day, when Niu Niu's parents weren't home, Yu told the little girl that she wanted to take her to the supermarket to buy her a special gift. 5-year-old Niu Niu really wanted sewing needles, and so she jumped at the opportunity. However, as you already know, Yu didn't take Niu Niu to the supermarket. The wretched old lady actually took her to a middleman, telling him that she got a brand new kid for him to sell to potential clients. The middleman then found another old lady from the Hebei province in China who wanted to buy Niu Niu as a maid daughter to take care of her disabled son. She gave him about $350 for her, and well, just like that, Niu Niu was then required to clean, cook, and generally take care of her new family. When she grew up, however, she had faint memories of her real family, and so she started posting all about those faint memories on Douyin, China's version of TikTok. Her posts quickly became viral, and soon enough, she was successful in finding her older sister through social media. However, after learning that both her parents died shortly after she was kidnapped, mostly because of the heartache that the tragic incident caused them, Niu Niu wanted revenge, and so she coerced the police to look for her trafficker, Yu Huaying, and made sure that the evil old lady got the harshest possible sentence. As of now, Yu Huaying has been sentenced to death by the Chinese court of Guizhou, given that she was responsible for kidnapping and trafficking not 1, not 2, but at least 17 kids. According to state media reports, her first victim was her own son, whom she sold for about $680 when she was in her 20s. Yikes! Well, I'm certainly glad she got caught. The gambling addict granny, Lois Rice. We've all encountered grandmas who can't resist the slot machines at casinos. though to be fair, they don't usually go on a murder spree because of it. The story of Lois Rice, however, doesn't go the usual way. 56-year-old Lois loved gambling. She loved it so much that she racked up a debt of about $11,000, which isn't a small amount. She was an addict through and through. She cut off all her close friends and family members and only contacted them when she was in need of some cold hard cash. One day, however, Lois just snapped. Instead of asking her husband David for some money the usual way, she decided that she wanted all of his savings, and so she shot him in his chest and emptied his savings account. She then paced frantically in their house in Blooming Prairie, Minnesota for 11 days, thinking about what she should do with David's remains, before finally deciding to go on the run, leaving her husband behind to rot in their shared home. To be fair, she did put a blanket over him before she left, though I don't know why she did that. From then on, Lois's plan was simple. She did not want to be Lois anymore, and so in her efforts to leave her identity behind, Lois fled to Florida and befriended another grandma who kinda sorta looked like her, this nice old lady called Pamela Hutchinson. Lois saw Pamela, and in her mind, they were so darn tootin' similar that she decided to steal her identity. And so, when Pamela invited Lois into her vacation condo, thinking that they were gonna have a great time together, talking about their grandkids and whatnot, Lois shot her in her chest and back and left with all her belongings. Though before leaving, she wrapped Pamela in a blanket too. Once again, I don't know why she did that. Lois then used Pamela's identity to her heart's content, causing problems for the police in their search for her. However, like I told you before, the old lady was a gambling addict through and through. Apparently, she stopped at a lot of casinos while she was on the run, hitting the slot machines just like usual, which eventually led the police to her location. Looks like Grandma Lois didn't realize that casinos are practically swarming with security cameras. The Giggling Granny, Nanny Doss. Granny Nanny might just be one of the scariest entries on this list. That said, her childhood is undoubtedly one of the most tragic stories I've ever come across. Nanny was born in Blue Mountain, Alabama on November 4th, 1905, to Louisa and James Hazel. While her mom, Louisa, took great care of her, her father, James, didn't care much for her. He often bullied her relentlessly, forced her and her mom to work on his farm for hours on end, and made weird and oppressive rules for her just out of habit. He didn't allow her to wear makeup, go outside, attend school, or generally just live her life, pushing Nanny to hate him more and more as the years went by. It is speculated that James hated Nanny because he thought she wasn't his daughter, but there isn't much evidence of that, so I digress. Nonetheless, all hope was not lost yet for young Nanny, as she found an escape in reading romance novels, and even started envisioning a perfect life away from the hellhole that she was in, probably with the man of her dreams that she was yet to find. But, just like clockwork, her father managed to ruin all of that too, when he arranged a man for her to marry, a man she barely knew. Nanny still didn't give up, however. Now married at the age of 16, she was prepared to be the perfect wife to her first husband, Charlie Braggs. And well, everything went well in the beginning, and the couple even gave birth to 4 healthy, beautiful daughters. But as time went by, Nanny didn't like her nagging mother-in-law as well as the responsibility of taking care of 4 children, while her husband, Charlie, went away for days on end, possibly having multiple affairs. And so, she decided to poison her 2 middle daughters, leaving out the youngest and the oldest to lighten her load. Geez, that's certainly a way to do it. After some time, she decided to poison her sick mother-in-law as well, since now she knew what to do when she wanted someone gone from her life. The only reason Charlie was alive was because, well, he wasn't around much. In the back of his mind, Charlie always doubted Nanny. He thought she had to have something to do with these murders, but well, she gave such Oscar-worthy acting performances at funerals that he'd end up doubting himself. After his mother died, though, he decided to divorce Nanny and marry another woman. From then on, Nanny went on a killing spree of her husbands. She'd often find a man to marry through the famous Lonely Hearts newspaper column, and then kill him when he proved to be less than perfect, or generally undeserving of the title of her so-called Prince Charming. She poisoned her second husband since he was an alcoholic who often misbehaved with Nanny after drinking one too many. She poisoned her third husband since he was an alcoholic womanizer. Her fourth wasn't a drunkard, but he had affairs too, so he had to go. And her final nail in her coffin, her 5th husband, Samuel Doss, had to go since he reminded her of her father too much. Why am I calling this one a nail in her coffin? Well, it's because this particular murder is the one that finally put her behind bars. Upon investigation, police also found out that Nanny killed 2 of her grandkids, her sister, as well as her own mother, through the same method as well. style. She'd often put poison into a sweet dish and serve it to her victim as their last meal. They also found out that she had brain damage from a childhood injury, which made sense since nothing about Nanny resembled a normal human being anymore. The more they heard her talk, the more terrified they were of her, and the most chilling thing about all of it is that she would often giggle while discussing her victims. The Lying Grandma, Sandra Treadway. Grandma Sandra's story is a rather funny one. It all starts when Sandra's son, Matt, meets this awesome new lady at work called Lindsay Grindle. They both work as emergency technicians, and they both hit it off instantly since they have so much in common. Things go well in the beginning, for about 5 to 6 months, and well after that, they decide to break up for unknown reasons. However, shortly after breaking up, Lindsay finds out that she's pregnant with Matt's baby. The couple then decides to co-parent their newborn, and again, everything's well and good for a few months, until little baby Aiden is hospitalized for being dangerously underweight. At this point, Daddy Matt and Granny Sandy are just super mad at Mommy Lindsay for not taking proper care of baby Aiden, and so they file for emergency custody and, well, they get it. Soon after that, little Aiden moves in with his dad and grandma. Meanwhile, his mom, Lindsay, just gets supervised visitation. Naturally, Mommy Lindsay isn't too happy with this, and so she files a petition to get her baby back sometime in September of 2015. However, to stop Lindsay from winning, Granny Sandy comes up with a bright old idea. She thinks,
Why not just eliminate the mother of this grandchild that I love so much? That'll take care of all my problems.
And so, Granny starts texting Matt's friend, let's call him Mr. X, who's also an ex-convict. She tells him in code that she wants to take care of a roach problem and that she will pay a lot of money to whoever takes care of it. As Mr. X shows interest in her proposal, she even pays him $750 in advance to get the job done and gives him a weird slam book filled with details about Lindsay. Yep, Grandma did her research. As it turns out, however, Mr. X was actually a police informant all along, and well, he snitches on Granny Sandy the first chance he gets, which essentially spoils all of her plans. To save face, Granny then tells the police that she was forced by Mr. X to do all of this, and to this day she just repeats that lie to whoever will care to listen, even after having a mountain of evidence against her, like, geez, Granny, we all saw you pay him, give up already. Well, at least this one has a satisfying ending since no one died. And well, Granny Sandy got sentenced to 60 years in prison along with a $60,000 fine. The Russian Ripper Granny, Tamara Samsonova. Now, on to the scariest granny on this list. Granny Tamara and her antics were pure nightmare fuel. She was a cold-blooded murderer, through and through. However, she often said that it wasn't her fault that she was like this. It was the man upstairs. He had been forcing her to do all that she did. It all started when Tamara's husband, Alexei Samsonova, disappeared, and she had to rent out a room in her apartment on Dimitrov Street in St. Petersburg to live a comfortable life. One after another, she rented out the room to different tenants. However, she'd often fight with them, relentlessly, over petty things. The first guy who rented the room just couldn't take it anymore and ran away. The second guy, however, wasn't so lucky. He left the place, dismembered in polybags, thrown into the streets of St. Desi his way. It's suspected that a lot of other tenants left Granny's lovely apartment this way, but well, not much is known about it, so I digress. Tamara was meticulous in the way she did her killings. She'd often cut up her victims into little pieces, boil them sometimes, maybe even eat a part or two, or just keep the pieces with her to possibly, allegedly perform weird black magic rituals through them. It wasn't her fault though. She did all of this because of the man upstairs. However, things changed a bit for Tamara when she began living with a woman named Valentina Ulanova in her apartment. Valentina, who also lived on Dimitrov Street, offered Tamara a place to stay while her own apartment was undergoing renovations. Tamara didn't even have to pay rent. All Valentina asked in return was a little help with the daily chores. Months went by, and Granny Tamara realized that she loved living with Valentina. However, the same couldn't be said for Valentina. She wanted her out as soon as she could, and so she gave Tamara a notice to clear the place out, which made Tamara a little bit angry. The reason Tamara loved living with Valentina so much was because she didn't have to deal with the man upstairs while Valentina was around. But seeing Valentina treat her like that brought him back. And just like usual, Tamara then decided to murder Valentina by poisoning her, and then went on to dismember her in an effort to throw the pieces in a nearby pond. This time, however, she did a sloppy job and quickly got caught. In custody, Tamara told the police all about the man upstairs, which made the authorities quickly realize that she was actually, possibly schizophrenic, since, well, the man that she so frequently mentioned was only in her head. The rest of her story came to light when the police found her beloved diary, in which she wrote almost every detail of her life in 3 different languages. And although the authorities could only prove 2 of her gruesome killings, she is currently being investigated in connection to a total of 14 murders, including her husband, a few neighbors, and well, a lot of tenants. Yikes, looks like this grandma's been real busy.